Minnesota Vikings have set their initial 53-man rooster, and we say initial especially this year because there's going to be some changes up front. I mean, carrying 2 safeties and 11 defensive linemen, 7 wide receivers. Okay, we'll see. But here are the top 5 controversial Vikings 53-man rooster moves as of right now. So number 1, Alexander Hollins out, Chad Beebe in. Now, Alexander Hollins had been the toast of training camp. You can make a good case that 85 had helped him, or whatever his number is now. He has helped himself the most of any player on this roster, but apparently it wasn't enough. He was firmly in the Mr. Mankato conversation, but Kubiak loves Chad Beebe because remember, out of camp last year, Chad Beebe was the Vikings wide receiver 3 before he inevitably got hurt like he does every year, as well as he was running with the ones for most of camp this year, ahead of Justin Jefferson, ahead of Tajay Sharp, Alexander Hollins, etc. So I was surprised that Hollins was cut over Beebe, as well as over Tajay Sharp, who is currently on the 53-man roster, as well as over Dan CHISENA, even though CHISENA is going to be more of a special teamer. I don't necessarily count him as a wide receiver, so maybe the Vikings are carrying 6.5 wide receivers on there, but I don't know, as much hype, as much good press as Alexander Hollins had, as well as the decent tape that he put up last year, he may be a guy for some wide receiver needy teams that might not make it through waivers. You look at the Niners, you look at the Raiders, just had Tyrell Williams go down. So, yeah, this may be a bit of a risk of subjecting Alexander Hollins to initial practice squad waivers. But, again, we'll see. Next up, controversial thing number 2 about the Vikings initial 53. All the safeties are gone. They're all gone, right? And as we've been harping on all friggin' offseason, the backup safety is a major concern because they've already cut Brian Cole II, and then now they cut 6th-round pick Josh Metellus. They cut Miles Dorn, the high-profile UDFA from North Carolina. They cut Stephen Parker, the waiver claim from Miami, who initially started playing good and then not so much. And also, they cut converted cornerback Nate Metters. So, yeah, what are you going to do? Now, it is reported that the Vikings do have some interest in bringing back George Aloka, former 2018 Viking, as well as he and Zimmer go way back like chiropractic in Cincinnati. Also, they brought him in for a workout a couple weeks ago. So, great. I mean, yes, you do have the best safety duo in the NFL. You got Harrison Smith and Anthony frickin' Harris, both at the height of their powers. But beyond that, gets a little rough. Like, who fills in if, knock on wood, alien abductions happen? Who fills in that J-Ron Kurtz third safety, big nickel type role? Huh? Well, and yes, out there you have Clinton Dix and Damaris Randall floating out there. So, okay, as well as Harrison and Chris Boyd in a crowded cornerback room do have the skill set to move the safety. Frankly, I would have moved one of them before Nate Metters, but yeah. But yeah, that's 2 safeties on the roster. It's something that's definitely going to change before next week. Next up, controversial decision number 3, Minnesota Vikings initial 53. AVIANTE Collins cut. All right, so this was a guy who was friggin' competing for the starting left guard spot. And we were told that it was a true competition, even though this means that competition was a sham. And yes, maybe they're trying to fluff up AVIANTE Collins' trade value, or maybe they're trying to make sure that Dakota Dozier had some sense of accomplishment, and that he wasn't just given the job by Rick Dennison, which he clearly was. So I don't know. If this was a true competition, where was Drew Samia? Where was Kyle Hinton? Where was Ezra Cleveland, who in your infinite wisdom have playing at left guard, even though he's going to be a left tackle in this league? Where was it? And also, you're telling me if AVIANTE Collins would have won the job, Dakota Dozier would have been cut? I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe it for a second at all. So, surprising. Vikings will probably try and get him on the practice squad. Also, yeah, a bit surprised that Brett Jones was cut, except we're pretty used to the massive disrespect being shown to number 61 year in, year out. Even though every single time Brett Jones gets on the field, he does good things. The 2.5 games he started 2018, every single practice squad rep, every single preseason rep that he's had, he's done well. But yeah, no chance. Yeah. Next up, controversial thing number 4 about the Vikings initial 53. Wide receiver, safety, wide receiver, Dan CHISENA makes it 53. Woo! Now, if you were betting on a UDFA wide receiver to make the 53, you probably would have bet on Courtney Davis over CHISENA. But, I mean, CHISENA, his role is going to be very clearly defined. He's going to be a special teamer. He's going to be a punt gunner. He's going to cover kicks. He's going to do all those things. 6'3", runs a 4.3 friggin' 40. former track star at Penn State, and yes, continues to impress as a special teamer. They tried his hand at safety. They changed it back after one practice, him back to wide receiver. But his position is special teams. I mean, I don't even necessarily count him as a wide receiver. It's just the positional group that he goes to meetings in because he's got to go somewhere, right? But, I mean, anything offensively that the Vikings get from Dan CHISENA is a bonus. But yeah, I'm excited about him as a special teamer. Chris Walsh 2.0, just out there getting it done. Lastly, controversial thing number 5 about the Vikings Nation 53. Vikings carrying 11 defensive linemen. Now, usually teams carry 8, sometimes 9. Now, the Vikings have traditionally carried 9, sometimes vacillates between 5 DNs and 4 D tackles, or 5 D tackles and 5 DNs. But they're holding on to everyone. Now, this could be a spot where they easily could trim some numbers if they want to add an extra safety. But you got Yannick, you have Stephen, you have Jaleel, you have Hunter, you have Odenigbo, you have Jalen Holmes, you have Armand for Watts, you have Eddie Yarborough. Those were the 8 that were going to make it all along. And then you have both of the 4th-round picks, DJ Wanham and James Lynch, the 2 edge rushers. Haven't really gotten the time of day. I think it's part on them, part the weird offseason, part Eddie Yarborough and Jalen Holmes will look really good. Also, you throw in Hercules Mataafa, who's made the roster for the 2nd season in a row. So, I mean, I think that it's a spot where the Vikings, they have a lot of young talent. They have a lot of young, unproven talent, especially on the back end, so especially at defensive tackle. So they don't want to let anyone go or subject them to waivers. I get it, but I would be a little bit surprised if 11 defensive linemen carry through and are on week 1 next Sunday, or we'll see how many actually are on the game day 48. But like we said, 53-man roster, situation is fluid. Just because they're on the roster now doesn't mean that they will be to start of week 1, but yeah. It's really, really interesting. And, yeah, I don't think there's a perfect 53-man roster projection bracket left. A lot of surprises out there, but what can you do? But your thoughts, what's your controversial takes on the Vikings 53-man rooster? Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work, post on the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.